Welcome to the Fire Sprinkler Podcast with Chris and Logan. JTJ Tech has developed and patented the Salamander Reservoir, designed to protect and connect fire sprinkler systems. Salamander reservoirs use real-time data from within these critical life safety systems to alert to potential compromises before they become failures. This protection by connection approach has been designed for new and existing wet and dry fire sprinkler systems. To connect with someone about the Salamander Reservoir, please call 610-810-1833 or visit salamanderreservoir.com.
Like and subscribe.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning into this episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast. I have Jonathan Epstein from JTJ Technologies, and we are going to talk about a new product that they have coming out here. Jonathan, how's it going today?
It's going very well. Chris, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to talk to you.
No problem. Sorry for delaying it so long, and thanks for taking the time on a beautiful Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely. And it is unseasonably warm out here, which doesn't really set the stage for what we're going to talk about, but we're not going to get around the cold weather anytime soon. So
yeah, that's right. The way the weather is outside, it's not an awesome time, but I mean, hey, that's okay. It's bound to happen sooner or later. We're going to get into it anyways.
Absolutely.
The Salamander is the product that JTJ Tech has created. It is. Why don't you start by describing who you are and where you're from?
Sure, thanks. So my name is Jonathan Epstein. I am one of the J's in JTJ Tech. We are a partnership of Jim, Tyler, and myself. And we started JTJ Tech probably about 5 years ago. Our background is commercial real estate development and management. We were never really involved with the life safety side other than management. And you know, we have properties in Pennsylvania and in the Northeast, and every year, as I'm sure you're aware, thousands and thousands of property managers go into their sprinkler rooms and vacant spaces, knowing that the weather is going to get cold, and let's start to crank up the heat. Let's protect these systems from freezing, our domestics and our sprinklers. We don't worry about the domestics so much because they're typically moving, but the sprinklers in these vulnerable areas are really what keeps a lot of property managers awake and restless during these winter months, especially for remote properties.
Absolutely. So you are essentially what you're saying to me right now is that you are a consumer that created a product to solve a problem that you've been having, which
absolutely,
instead of a say a fitter or a an engineer or designer, anybody in the industry coming up with an idea to solve a problem that their customers are having, you've gone out and you've solved this problem yourself.
Yeah, because it's a problem that we were having.
And how does your product work? What is the product?
So the product is the Salamander Reservoir, and it is that's it. So what you just showed up for those of you who are watching on the video channel is our micro reservoir. Okay. We've got 3 different sizes of reservoirs. We've got a small, a medium, and a micro. We have a 4-inch one. For those of you who are watching the videos and liking and subscribing, you can see it here. This is a 4-inch hooked up to an 1.5-inch mechanical tee. What Chris just showed up was the micro one, and I've got a 6-inch reservoir, which is designed to fit on a larger pipe. And basically, all these reservoirs do is they are sized according to the pipe to which they will be adjacent to which they'll be installed. Mm-hmm. So you want to put a 6-inch maybe on a 6-inch to an 8 or a 10 or a 12-inch line. You want to put a 4-inch on a 2 to a 6-inch line. And the micro is really designed for remote head locations, that you've got 1/2-inch or 3/4-inch lines or the like. That'll give you the most conservative sampling size. And what we're doing is that reservoir is taking a sample size of the water from the sprinkler system. And why that's important is because it's not obvious to people outside of this industry that pipes freeze when water freezes, not when the air freezes.
Right.
So for all of the people that are monitoring their sprinkler rooms with an uncalibrated heater that's going 0 to 10 or a Nest or something like that that's measuring upon air, we're really chasing the wrong data. So our system is a reservoir that is constantly monitoring the water temperature from the system and will alert you to potential compromise before that compromise becomes failure in the form of low temperature.
Right. So this is not an end all. This is not going to be a thermostat that's going to kick your heater on. This thing is going to give you a warning that you have issues coming quickly.
That's correct. So this is designed to be the early warning system based upon water temperature data. And the reason why water temp is important is because we've got a couple things going on. First of all, if you are measuring based upon air, air is extremely volatile. So if you think about if you think about an unoccupied sprinkler room, if a maintenance technician left that door open to go out to their car, to go out to their truck to get a wrench or something like that, the air temperature in that room on a 0-degree day is going to drop probably 20 degrees in 10 seconds. But the water temperature, because of the geothermal effect of the water coming up from the ground, and then where it gets heated in theoretically an occupied or a production area, that column of water is going to take such a long time to drop a degree that there's no need to kick the heating on.
So it's not going to be used to replace a low temperature alarm, but what it's going to do is it's going to give, like, how does it give you the warning? Is it hooked up to a bell? Is it hooked up to like the fire alarm panel?
We think that it's hooked up a little bit better than that. It's hooked up to dispatch these alerts to the people that need it most. And that's not necessarily the fire department. That's not necessarily an emergency contact. That would be a building manager, perhaps a sprinkler contractor, or a building owner, to let you know that you've got low water temperatures, maybe 45 or 48 degrees or 8 or 9 degrees Celsius, that you've got low water temperature and it's time to do something about that. Mm-hmm. We can send that alert by email and by text and make it addressable so that you know exactly where it is. If it's in the riser room of 2121 Star Street, you know exactly where to go.
Yep.
Or if it's in a remote head at a vacant Kmart, you know exactly where it is. Additionally, we can integrate with local on-site heating to initialize that heat when there is a low temp detected, and we can turn the heat off when that temperature gets satisfied to about 10 degrees or about 50 degrees. So you don't have to keep wasting this heat energy. You're really doing you're really taking like a sniper's approach as opposed to a shotgunner's approach.
So it can be used as a thermostat if required.
Absolutely, or if desired. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, desired or required.
And like you said, it's not designed to replace ordinary maintenance. It's not designed for stuff like that. It's one more layer of protection, so that building owners and building managers and sprinkler technicians and all those involved can keep people safe and their real property safe from the dangers and downtimes and the costs of pipe freeze.
So what made you guys come up with the idea? Where did it come from? Have you guys been having issues with a bunch of your properties and unable to get assistance on dealing with it, or what was the problem?
So there's a lot, if you talk to a lot of property managers up in the mid-Atlantic or northern states, and I'm sure in Canada, pipe freeze is an issue everywhere.
Right.
We kind of see it north of the Mason-Dixon. Texas showed us a bit of a surprise last year because they were getting pipe freeze all over the place.
That's right. Yeah, so they weren't installed for that type of situation.
So it seems like it's just a question of when this will cross your desk, not if this will cross your desk.
Right.
So like I said, we're property managers and we're pretty conscientious. We're always going out there and making sure that our systems are working okay. And what happened one year in a property that we have was that the thermostat ended up getting fried out. And we didn't notice it until we got a bill for about $2,000 for a 10 by 10 sprinkler room. So we go out there to see what's going on. We open up the door and it's like some March day and we're smacked with this 90-degree heat coming out of the room because the heater just kept running and running and running and running.
Right.
And honestly, that water was more at risk of boiling than it was for freezing. And we thought, why are we doing it this way? We should be doing it when the water gets cold, not when the air gets cold. And so honestly, we went around to the industry to find out what is going on, why people aren't doing that. And why is it a bad idea if we wanted to do it based upon the water temperature? And we looked and we went out to the NFPA and we said, this is kind of what we think. Tell us what's wrong with it. Tell us why this is a horrible idea. And everyone said, why didn't I think of that?
So did NFPA have anything to say, because they have a minimum air temperature in a valve room of 4 degrees Celsius, 40 or 36 degrees Fahrenheit.
40. Yep.
Did they have any issues with kind of changing the way you were monitoring the temperature of the water? Because the way you explained it earlier is the water temperature, when you get an alert, is actually going to be higher than the ambient air temperature in the room.
Yeah, because the water is going to take so much longer to cool than the air temperature, which is, obviously less dense and more volatile. So when we talked to the folks at NFPA, they recommended that we have a conversation with FMs and the ULs of the world, that they didn't really get involved in the mechanics of what exactly we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They are just kind of the legislative body that says, this is the rule and you guys have to enforce it as you see fit. But there was no conflict with NFPA. In fact, NFPA says you've got to make sure that your systems are monitored and that your systems are protected from pipe freeze. So this is not a conflict. This is very much in line with their directives.
Right.
So we've had conversations with FM and with UL, and we told them what we'd like to do. And FM and UL both see our device as a bit of an ancillary monitoring system, that we're not I'm putting my fingers in finger quotes, a functioning part of the system.
Right.
That we are kind of outside the flow. We designed that on purpose, so we didn't want to be in line for anything. And honestly, so we can be shut off. So they didn't see us as a violation of FM or UL's regulation, but they did ask that the installers get their permission from the local AHJ prior to any installation. So what sorry, go ahead.
So NFPA doesn't have any issues with you adding this to an NFPA approved sprinkler system, and FM doesn't have any issues with you adding it to an FM approved system, as long as the AHJ is comfortable with it.
That's correct.
Because this device isn't necessarily ULC, UL, or FM approved, but it's made out of all approved materials and devices.
Yes, that's correct as well.
Okay. Interesting.
And so what's interesting too, what's further in line with that direction, is that if you pull up, I'm going to drive people to your website so that they're watching the videos. So when you're installing one of the micro reservoirs, or any of our reservoirs for that matter, we always talk about installing it with a ball valve between our reservoir and the rest of the system. So if somebody was really concerned about any type of conflict there, you can always fill up the reservoir so that you're getting that true sample of water and shut that ball valve off. So right. that really takes us one more step removed from the system, so that we're, that there's really no conflict there.
Yeah. Is there a way you could add a drain to it? Because anything downstream of a drain isn't considered a component of the sprinkler system and doesn't require to be listed. So if you attach this to the other side, you got your drain valve on the upstream of it, and then another drain piping with another valve downstream, this is now, for all intents and purposes, drain piping.
Sure. And you could use that bleed valve. We use the bleed valve to bleed out the air as you're filling with the reservoir, so that you're certain that you've got a full sample of water in there. So you could use that as your bleed if you switch it 180 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
You can shut off the ball valve and use that.
Right. It's a neat little product. How's the industry taking it so far? Like, how many of these do you have out there? Are you selling the product? Are they moving, or are you still in the advertising stages and getting it moving forward?
The good news is we're well beyond the advertising stages.
Awesome.
Although being a small business, I feel like we're always advertising. We're always trying to market it and get it out there.
Yep.
But the good news is the word has been spreading, and we've got probably 50 some deployments. So we've got a lot of little reservoirs out there that are streaming their data, both for a wet system and for dry systems. And some buildings have a mix of both. We've got big REITs that are using our equipment, and we've got small independent landlords that are using our equipment. And it's been working great. One of the nice things about the way that we've designed the salamander reservoirs is that all of the devices, all of the sensors that are in our reservoirs, both wet and dry, communicate wirelessly to a gateway. And then the gateway communicates over a cell service to send those notifications of low temp alert, high temp alert, if there's water detected in the dry in a dry system. All of those come through. That's our gateway.
This is the gateway. If you're watching on the YouTube video, it's just a little thing. It's got two little bunny ears that sit on the end of it. What's the span of these things? Like how many devices can you attach to a single gateway? How far can the devices be from a gateway? Things like that.
I'll answer those questions in that order.
Okay.
So we can support about 75 or 80 devices per gateway.
Okay.
And the gateways have a range of about 1,200 feet from device to device. So it'll certainly give a lot of coverage. You know, if you picture like a major mall or something like that, you could put one gateway centrally located and probably service both wings or both ends of the like.
Have you had any issues with concrete? I can see these being an asset in parking garages and areas like that. Do you have any issues with concrete walls or brick wall structures, things like that?
We have not had any conflict with that. The devices the signals are communicating through a secure encrypted RF.
Okay.
So that gives a stronger signal strength. We're not using any Bluetooth or wireless or consumer, or the client network. We didn't want to get involved with any of that stuff. And the gateways, honestly, they can just sit in a janitor's closet or a sprinkler room or kind of somewhere that it's a little bit protected. And because everything has battery backup on it, we're really independent of a power source. So you don't have to hardwire anything to an outlet or hardwire anything back to a panel. It all operates wirelessly.
So that's actually
a huge savings.
That's a huge thing because the issues are going to be you lose power to a building, which causes the heat to go out. This thing's still going to send an alarm to somebody if they're not in the building, maintenance, something like that. They're still going to get the alert on their phone.
Absolutely. It's still, and that's what keeps driving us back to our approach is that, it's our job to send these alerts. We want people to know when the systems, before compromise becomes a failure. And even if you don't have power to the building, you still got to know what's going on. That doesn't make you, immune to a problem. So you still got to go out there and check your buildings. Like I said, it's not a replacement for ordinary maintenance. It's just, a big flashing indicator. So even if your power is out, as it was up here in the Northeast for a little bit, and your drum drip has water in it, and it's freezing cold outside, you're going to get a burst. So you got to know that it's time to come out and drain it. So
that's right.
With hopefully a little bit of an aspirin so that you don't have headaches upon headaches from problems like these.
Not a replacement for NFPA requirements for preventative maintenance, but definitely a crutch, so to speak.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things about the NFPA requirements, talking about, we have a system that is designed for drum drips. And it will alert you when you've got water in your drum drip, from accumulation.
Yep.
So it will send you a text and an email letting you know which specific drum drip has water in it and what's going on, so you can take that action.
I think that's this one, right?
That's that one.
This one here. Correct. If you're watching the video, I got the thing. It looks essentially like a 1/1/2 T with a probe on the inside. So I'm assuming this would go kind of on after the 2-inch piece right before the 1-inch valve. There it is right there. He's got one already set up.
So this is the trophy for good property management. So if one of your installers, if one of your listeners or subscribers buys this, I'll give them this as a trophy.
There you go.
But basically that's how it works. And so when you get water accumulating in here and it touches our sensor, it sends the communication out to the end user to let you know, you got to come in here, you got to shut this off and drain the system. So what's nice about that is NFPA kind of gives some, I'm going to say, vague guidelines that you've got to go through and make sure that the systems are tested regularly until they're clean and free of a problem. And this will tell you when you've got a problem. So if you just checked it 20 minutes ago and you think that you're good for another 2 days and this thing alerts, instead of catching it 2 days later, you can go right then and there because we're using real-time data.
Right. Or catching it at 3 in the morning, because the drum drips never freeze at 2 in the afternoon in the middle of the day. They're always in the middle of the night.
That's right. That's right. So it's our job to let you know when and where.
Awesome. So if somebody wants to get more information, or if somebody's interested in getting some of these, how do they get it? Where do they get it from?
That's the best question. Like I said, we're always marketing. So if you Google Salamander Reservoir, our website is going to pull up, but you can also go to salamanderreservoir.com.
Okay.
And that'll pull up all of our information. At the bottom is contact information for us. And that's kind of the best way to connect with us.
Awesome. Price points. Do you want to talk about price points, or is it really going to depend on the size of the building and type of systems you have?
You know, I'll tell you this right now. So we haven't had a price increase in a couple of years, and I don't know if that's going to happen in the upcoming year. But what we've been talking about is about $895 per reservoir.
Okay.
And then $895 for the monitoring, and that's good for 2 years.
Okay.
So for a building owner, that's what's called a CAM cost. So they can spread that over the course of their building and amortize that over 2 years. So it's really, the landlord doesn't have to come out of pocket for something like that. We do have incentives available for installers or contractors who are interested in repping this or selling it. I'd love to get in touch with them. You can reach me at je@jtjtech.com. That's JE, like Jonathan Epstein, at jtjtech.com. You'll find it all on Salamander Reservoir.
Awesome. Jonathan, I love talking to people about new products in the industry and guys that are trying to move forward and evolve with the industry. If I say it probably once on every episode, and I haven't said it yet, you're either going to evolve with this industry, or the industry is going to evolve without you. I think this is a good product. I think it's just one of those things that can make the difference between excuse the language, but a pissed off customer and a super happy customer. If you can, one of the best things in the world is when they can tell you before something happens. And I think this is just a way to facilitate that.
I first of all, I appreciate the kind words. I think that's what it's about. And, we've been talking about this from the very beginning. Our very first business plan had a box with 4 squares in it. And it said, these are the benefits of what we're trying to do. In fact, this is our very first one. Our device is all about life safety, asset protection, risk management, and the green initiative. So, but first and more important is to protect the occupants inside these buildings from the dangers and downtimes of pipe freeze. Absolutely.
That's right, because a fire protection system isn't going to do anything if it's out of service.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And that's a huge important thing, especially here in the Northeast. And, look, no one's immune. We talked about Texas before.
Yeah, that's right. The top 2 causes of system failure are system isolation or incorrect preventative maintenance.
Yeah,
and you're checking off the two. You're checking off the two top things on the causes of system failure. Jonathan, thanks for coming on. Thanks for reaching out to the Fire Sprinkler Podcast. Thanks for sending me these samples to try out. I'll get them back to you ASAP. And do you have anything else you want to mention to anybody?
No, I just wish everybody a happy and a healthy and a warm and safe and connected new year, and a very happy holiday season.
Absolutely. It is a couple days before Christmas, about a week before Christmas, just in case whenever you're listening to this. Have a good Christmas. Have a good holidays.
Thanks all.
Hey everyone, this episode of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast is done. If you liked this episode, leave a review, comment, or hop over to my social media pages and let me know. Just search Fire Sprinkler Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Don't forget to hashtag Fire Sprinkler Podcast and anything you think I should know about or see. If you have any suggestions for future episodes of the Fire Sprinkler Podcast, email info@firesprinklerpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Take care.